And also I was struggling with my depression. I was struggling with, I really held grudges. I really had a hard time feeling good enough.
Yeah.
I really struggle with anxiety. I really struggle with people having expectations of me. But once I really got into ketosis and stayed there for a long period of time, that's when I started to be like, whoa, is this what it's like for a normal person's brain? That's the way I saw it, right?
Truly.
And I thought, is this what it's like to be normal?
Hey, what's up, family? I'm Rachel, and I am one half of Two Crazy Ketos. And today we have the honor and privilege of sitting with Jess Britt, who spoke at the conference here in Orlando. And I was so moved by what you were sharing that I really was like, I almost charged the stage to be like, can I please share your story? So I want to get out of the way and just let you do just that. Could you just share a little bit about, your life before keto and how you came to keto?
So the thing for me is, like, I have a really extensive background before I discovered keto, and I had a lot of mental health issues. I struggle with bipolar 2. I've always struggled with depression and things like that. And it was really hard, growing up with any kind of anxiety, any kind of illness, feeling like you're different, feeling like you're an outlier. I had a lot of these things going on in my life. And for me, keto, and I'll go back a little bit and go back to some more, but keto really helped me mentally. It helped me emotionally, along with my faith, along with meditation and practicing gratitude. But keto really helped me clear the fuzz and clear the noise, and to be able to start making the changes in my life that I needed to make. It helped me start making the changes in my life that were the most important. And I think a lot of times when you're hurting, when you're struggling, when you've got a lot of noise going on, you can't make the right decisions. And I felt like I was messing up my entire life, like from when I was a kid all the way up until I was a dad and I was a husband. And for me, keto came from necessity. So I was on bipolar meds for a good portion of my life, and for me, they always made me feel bad. I never felt right. I've always been a creative. I've always loved to do a lot of different things, and so for me, I had to really make some changes, and because my health was so bad, I ballooned all the way up to 385 pounds after I got married. And I was less heavy before I got married, but because with my mental struggles, with my mental health, my depression, when I got married, I just let everything go.
Yeah.
And it was a hard first couple of years of being married. It was really difficult. And I think the turning point for me to get really serious, I had learned about paleo and I kind of tried it. I found Rob Wolf, I found some other people, and I started to kind of try these different things. And but I always failed because I didn't have a strong why. And then one day I was walking down the hallway, and sometimes I would pass out. Like my blood sugar would drop and I would pass out. And my daughter was in the hallway with me, and I remember I passed out and I thought I fell on her.
Wow.
And what happened, I hit my head off the door frame and I fell into the bathroom, but my daughter was in front of me as I was walking down the hallway, and I went out. And when I got up, I realized I could have killed my daughter, or maimed her. And I made the choice. I was like, I have to do something about my health because I'm not going to be around for her anymore if I don't do something. Wow. If I don't figure this out. And also I was struggling with my depression. I was struggling with, I really held grudges. I really had a hard time feeling good enough.
Yeah.
I really struggle with anxiety. I really struggle with people having expectations of me. But once I really got into ketosis and stayed there for a long period of time, that's when I started to be like, whoa, is this what it's like for a normal person's brain? That's the way I saw it, right?
Truly.
And I thought, is this what it's like to be normal? And I started praying more, my faith got stronger. I started to see the beautiful things in life. And then I really got on the weight loss journey at that point. And I ended up losing almost 185 pounds.
Wow.
Over the course of 2 years. But the big thing there was that wasn't the end of that story, because I lost all that weight, and at some point I started to get a following. People started to follow me on Facebook. I had a group that had 2,000 members at one point. It was called Keto Punk. It was about like how to just DIY, do keto. I worked as in pest control, and I would be like, how can I just go in a grocery store if I forget to pack a lunch, and what can I grab off the shelves, or what can I grab and just eat like a almost kind of sort of carnivore keto paleo diet. And so I was doing little videos on Facebook and stuff like that. And I got this huge following, and I would post all these progress pictures, and I got addicted to the external validation. I got addicted to the external validation of people following me, of people messaging me, of people telling me how great I am. And once I lost the weight, once I got to that goal, it was even bigger, right?
Yeah.
But then people stopped caring after that.
Right.
And then I stopped caring about myself again, and I had no community. You guys talk about community.
We
a lot.
do talk about community, and we talk about all the time, share your story. It's so important. You don't know who it's going to impact. And we have shared so many stories over the course of 4 years and celebrated so many things. But it was when you were on the stage sharing your story that I thought, there's my person.
Yeah.
Because I have struggled with depression, and I have struggled with social anxiety, and I have been medicated for that, and attempted suicide twice. And when you are willing to be so vulnerable as to share your story, I immediately wanted to seek you out, because I thought, I am not alone. Sometimes it's so hard to talk about mental health issues. And I want to share, just like somebody who's recovering from type 2 diabetes, or they're having health momentum when it comes to their heart, or they're not having seizures anymore, and they're getting off of medication. I want to celebrate that I am off of my mental medication, but there still seems to be almost like a stigma about it. I feel hesitant to share that. Is it hard for you to share your story in that way? Have you ever felt, it just feels odd, like I almost need a different story. This is my story. This is the only story that I have to tell. But it's challenging sometimes to talk about mental health issues.
I think my core, and I really didn't get to say it in my share because that was my first time public speaking, and I think for me that one of my biggest driving motivators, so I had a dad who left when I was a kid, like he just kind of wasn't present. He had me every other weekend, and then he actually moved away, and that was hard on me, and I really remember trying to articulate, because I've always had a passion. I've always wanted bigger things. I've always wanted to do more. I've always kind of had this dream that something big is coming. I felt like that the whole 40 years I've been alive, like something big is coming. And I felt like no one ever heard that. And I think that where I've come from is this feeling of not being heard, And because I wasn't ever heard, and I think people tried, but I felt unheard. I felt unwitnessed. And once I got around people who really resonated with me, and I was only able to do that by actually telling my real story and to just bring it out and to really be heard. Because I think most of us want to be heard, but we try to do it in a specific way instead of from the authentic place that God created in you, the needs and the personhood and the true identity of what you are. People don't bring that out. And I think that people really resonated with that when I said that, because I saw people crying. And I even had multiple people come up to me today that said, I don't talk about my feelings, but I wish I could do what you did. And you know what? Good. Like, I hope they see that someone can do that.
Yes.
And that they can feel that, because I feel like being fearless in who you are and just knowing what you are and what's really important, that's where you start to heal, because you're trying to heal the wrong place if you're trying to clean it up. If you're trying to make it look better than it is, you're never really going to be able to get to that place. And I believe that with my faith. I believe that with friendships and relationships. Like, you really need to, like, when I ask God for forgiveness or for help, I need to tell him exactly where I'm at.
Right.
And recognize that this is where I'm at, and to be okay with that. And to not hold on to it, because of guilt and shame are powerful, and they will keep you from ever being able to do anything, because we're all either condemning other people or we're condemning ourselves. And I believe the narrow path that they talk about is doing neither.
Right.
We can't condemn each other or ourselves. That's for God to decide. So really just showing up as who you really are and letting people see you for who you really are is the only way to heal. Lots of people do it in therapy, but they touch on little parts. But just bringing it out and being honest about where you're really at, that's how you heal.
So for me, and we were talking about this yesterday, that things would come in waves, and medication could only control certain things, but it was never, the cure to it.
Yeah.
It never completely silenced the problem. I'd have years of, better or worse. Mm-hmm. But there was something that nutrition did that helped me to truly feel clear in my own mind. Mm-hmm. What was that like for you, utilizing nutrition for yourself?
I think nutrition was like that door into the building to find what I needed. And for me, nutrition was just turning off the noise so I could actually listen to what was really going on. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's kind of what it is with mental health. Now, there's so many things going on that I believe. I believe that a lot of mental illnesses we deal with today are caused by diet. I believe that most depression, anxiety, there's certain mental health things that are probably just genetic, but I feel like even those would be less if you didn't have all the inflammation up in your brain. So I think that taking away all that noise and stripping away things and simplifying things, and taking away all the things that you don't really need, that are just kind of almost distracting you, and you have enough distractions pile up in your life, it just becomes chaos.
Yeah.
So once you take the chaos out, you can actually get an idea of what's actually going on in your life. Because I started to realize as I came into a place where I started to get on Clubhouse. So I got on Clubhouse, and I found out there's lots of people practicing gratitude on Clubhouse. Mm-hmm. So I was going in those rooms, and then I had some mentors. Actually, two of them are vegans, but it's like they do what they do, but they're on the path, right?
Right.
and having them love on me, and having people treat me with respect and love and to admire who I really am, because I was like, well, these people don't know me. I'm just gonna tell the truth.
Right.
And I started to practice telling the truth of who I am, and that's and like Clubhouse really gave me that gift, and to have people pour back into me and really witness who I really am and respect that made me start putting boundaries down with all the toxic people in my life. You know, one of my best friends for years, I started to put boundaries down with him, and what I realized, like hanging out with Judith and Erica and all the Keto Clubhouse people, and hanging out with my gratitude people, and the respect and kindness I was given, I realized, wait, there's some people in my life that are not treating me right.
Right.
And I think that when you're sensitive, because you seem like you're sensitive like I am, and when you're sensitive and maybe you have people pleaser tendencies and stuff like that, people take advantage and they impose on you. But once you know what it's like to really be around people who witness you for who you really are and love you where you really are at, that's when you're like, wait a minute, that's not okay. You can't treat me like this. And you start to put those boundaries in your life. Those people disappear. Those bad people, I wouldn't call them bad people, I call them problematic or difficult, right? Some people are going through difficulties that are not yours to fix. That's their burden to fix. That's their thing to hash out. And to be able to say, you're not going to do this in my life. And to realize that your life is sacred in that way, that God gave you your life, God gave you your story. I hope I didn't turn that off. God gave you your life and your story. It's your story to write. So that's like one of the most important things that God gives you. Like all your stuff, it really doesn't matter. All your money, materialism, all that stuff, that doesn't matter. You get to author your story, and you get to tell your story, and you get to choose how you live your story and who's going to be in your story. So
something that we sort of kind of discovered once we started on keto, and then have, you know, done more with just meat, you know, focusing on more of like a ketovore, carnivore type of lifestyle, is when you're cooking meat, it takes as long as it takes. You know, we went from a mindset of my food was 90 seconds, like a burrito in the microwave, or it was as long as
air fryers are nice.
Exactly, right?
If you're in a hurry.
As long as it, you know, could take for me to go through the drive-through of McDonald's. That's how much I was willing to budget for the food that I was consuming. But now, as you're cooking a roast, it's not a quick thing. And I'm finding that as we deal with the things that caused us to emotionally eat, there were still emotions. There are still valid concerns. There are things that, you know, I am angry about, or I'm happy about, or I'm stressed out about. And there is no quick fix to dealing with emotions once you're willing to not just handle it with food, but actually handle it and like untangle it, and having a community that's willing to take the time, as many talks as it takes. And that's something I've really noticed about Clubhouse. It's not a case of like, hurry up, tell me your problem, and I'm going to immediately answer you in like 30 seconds. Like it's a relationship that has to unwind.
And the beautiful thing about Clubhouse is, say you go in and something comes up and you're not ready for that conversation, you just pop out. No one's gonna be upset at you about that. And you might pop back into a room later, and the person who has that energy that you need at that moment is there, and then you can have that conversation. And the thing is, like, I experienced this, you know, if we're going to talk about this, I experienced this earlier on with my keto journey in general, is that Facebook groups can be brutal. Because it's just text, and people think they can just be as judgmental and bully people because they don't feel like they're talking to a person. They feel like they're commenting on an article. And it's like almost like impersonal. But when you're rude to somebody on like something like Clubhouse, it's like, well, first of all, if there's other people in the room, they just heard you act like that. They heard your tone, they heard your intent, and they're going to call you out if you're in a safe place. So yeah, I think there is something to that, where you build a relationship, because it's really hard to build a relationship via just some comments,
right,
or a like, or a react.
Something that I was happy to be wrong about in my life,
I love that
is
term.
the thought that there were positive and negative people, and there were happy or sad people. And I just kind of assumed, after having suffered with depression and anxiety for so long, that maybe I just was in that classification of, I was just a negative person. I was just destined to be a sad person. And I'm happy to be wrong about that. But even though I have the potential to be positive too, it's not something that we can just be lackadaisical about. I find that I have to be very intentional about seeking out positivity and gratitude every single day of my life.
Yes.
Do you find that to be true also?
You know, I guess, so for me, the ego part of things was never a huge barrier to me. I was always willing to be wrong if I could be happier and know the truth. And I think that's something my mom instilled in me. My mom's an amazing Christian woman, and she's really instilled in me that, listen, like, even if you think somebody doesn't know what they're talking about, like, listen to them, because you might find something in there. Or if somebody's, like, you have to kind of put your ego aside. And a lot of times we get so defensive, right? Because we almost feel like, oh, I don't like this. But sometimes what we don't like is our own personal conviction about something that's going on with us, or someone just is trying to help you, and they say, hey, I notice you do this, but your mom does that,
right,
or your dad does that. And now you feel like if you recognize that and call that thing negative, you're attacking your own parents, you're attacking your ancestors, or like, there's so many different things going on in that way, and I think that I'm glad to be wrong if I can have more access to writing my story, if I can, because I believe that I was very negative before, and I was stuck in a lot of loops. But once I started to clear those things and stop repeating those behaviors, once I stopped being so hard on myself, once I started to forgive myself for things, because we're both Christians here. How can we not forgive ourselves for something when we know God forgives for all?
Right, exactly.
Right? So I think that it's good to be wrong, and to look forward to being wrong, because every time I've been wrong about something that I feel kind of uncomfortable about, and I've been wrong about something, there's beauty waiting on the other side of that.
Wow, that is so powerful. How do you cultivate gratitude in your everyday life? Because I think sometimes people are looking for like other ways to extend that, besides just saying like, hey, I'm going to wake up every morning and just think about like 3 things I'm grateful for. What are some other things that people can do to cultivate gratitude in their life?
I think that to really lean into gratitude, it comes with a certain level of self-awareness. So for me, like, I was in a really bad place for a while before I came back and got community and started being around people. And one of the things I realized as I surrounded myself with people who are positive and who are doing the work, I think it's almost contagious. Like, you've got to find other people that are doing it,
right,
and be in that community. So for me, like, one of the big things I noticed was once I started hanging out with these people again, and being in more of these conversations, and just having these places where it's like more positivity, and hearing their outlooks and claiming that for myself, right? Like, I'm going to take that on, and that's mine. I'm taking that because I like that, right? And then to be self-aware and realize, hey, when I'm standing in line and someone's taking too long to check out, I'm thinking really horrible things right now. And I don't have to think these things. And I think there's a lot of subconscious and things going on in the background where you're bitter, or you're annoyed with the person that cut you off, or whatever it is. And I think catching those moments and holding yourself accountable that, what is that going to change? To be angry that this person's taking a little longer.
Yeah.
What is that going to change? So why would I want to spend this moment that I'm inconvenienced or whatever it is being angry?
Right.
And being unhappy when I can just sit here for a minute and just think. And when it's my turn, it's my turn. So I think definitely intentionality, self-awareness, and going into spaces, and even if you can't, and speaking things out loud. So speaking things out loud, one of the biggest things I ever did was as I kind of came to a new iteration of my Christian faith, it really required me to pray out loud. Okay. And I used to just pray in my head. And when you pray out loud, you're taking action. You're doing something. Or so for me, with like the prayers and saying them out loud, it actually brought me back to a more spiritual place. And I really believe that to engage the spirit, like the higher minded part of yourself, your thoughts and your actions, you have to find a way to put them in a parallel. So if your thoughts are, I want to be praying, I want to worship God, or I should eat better, you've got to think it and do it. Right. And those two things then come into meaning. But for me with prayer, speaking it out loud was an action while also thinking it. And I think a lot of Christians, we get trapped in this idea of we pray in our heads and we just think, I'll just think these things and now I go to bed. You know, but to make it almost I stand up to pray, you know, and I pray for a certain amount of time. I always say the Lord's Prayer, so there's a little bit of a ritual there, and I think there's something to repeating a process and making a ritual or a habit of something along with the intentionality. That brings the spirit into play. Right. You know? And it's a repetition. It's like it becomes part of your subconscious. Yeah, it really does. But it doesn't, you can't be inactive about it. Like you have to say like, hey, this is my new routine. You know, and we will post-it notes all over our house about things that I want to remember and I want to keep at the forefront of my mind, because I find in certain spaces like, hey, I'm going to be driving down the road and somebody's going to cut me off and I'm going to forget for a minute that I'm grateful for this day, or I'm going to be standing at the fridge and forget who I am and try to just kind of like medicate with food in that moment. So how do you keep it like visual for you? Visual. Man, that's a hard one. Right. I don't, you know, maybe that's something I could be better about. I definitely surround myself with like faith-based art and stuff like that. And I really like to read and watch like inspiring videos and stuff like that. So I would say that would be a way that I do visual. Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. What has the Clubhouse community brought into your life? Like how has it blessed you? Well, we're here at the Keto Orlando Summit right now, and all of the people that were in that room and that I spoke on stage with, I met them today. I met them when I got in on Thursday for the first time. A lot of that them. You're seeing them for the first time. These are people I've been speaking to for over a year about my life and all these things, and they've been so supportive of me, and I've never experienced a community like that before. And now I'll tell you, I almost canceled coming and speaking here. What was holding you back? Imposter syndrome. It was. I didn't feel like I was good enough. Please share some more about that, because that is something I'm starting to hear more of. I'm so glad that I am, because I'm like, yes, that sounds like me. How would you define imposter syndrome? Well, I think it's, so when you start to make changes and kind of your reality, your social group starts to change, maybe the way people treat you starts to change, like the fruits of your labor start to come into fruition, and because of what was done before, you feel like you don't deserve the results, okay? Right. So you feel like, or maybe you're just so hard on yourself right? I'm a people pleaser, so it's like I would literally think, I'm just going to be completely honest, like I would just feel like, oh man, anyone else here, there's so many other people who deserve this opportunity more than I do. But Erica and Judith made the call to have me speak, you know, and when I inquired about it, they said, yes, you're going to do it. And I think that's the first time I ever asked for something so big, and this has been a big experience for me coming here. And I really struggled, and I think when something big is going to happen, I met you guys. I'm so glad I met you, because I resonated with you too. And I was just like, she's amazing. Like, and when the way that you are so switched on and positive, but that you could come to a place of talking about that dark thing. And I think that that's so human, right? Because I think a lot of people, they just want to be the shiny, happy person, but they're afraid of admitting the dark points, and that I struggle sometimes. And you know, I think that's the wrong way to think about it, because when we hear that our heroes struggle too, we feel like maybe I can do this after all, right? Yeah. But the imposter syndrome part is really just feeling undeserving. And that's something I've been telling myself. You know, I don't dance in front of people because it's like I feel self-conscious, right? I'm an amazing singer. Well, I'm a good singer. I'll say I'm a good singer. I don't want to sound like, you know, I'm a good singer. I write music, I write songs and things like that. And I've always loved to sing, and people tell me I have a great voice. But I went through a period of time where I was in such a dark place, and I was being so hard on myself. I was scared to sing in front of people, even though I've been in rock bands as the singer. But I went through periods of time where I felt like an imposter, even though I've done it. And it's all in your head. I think it's really Satan is a liar. He's attacking you with your doubts and your fears and your insecurities. And the only way to break them is to step out of it. Yeah. Is to just do it anyway.
Right. Do it afraid.
Yeah, do it afraid anyway. And if you do it enough times and you make it a daily thing, you can continue, and it becomes a part of who you are, and you can't deny it anymore. You just keep doing it until you can't deny it anymore.
And that's what I'm finding in the keto community. You know, we talk about accountability within this community, which is so powerful. And I think when we first got to be a part of it, I thought it was just about accountability, about sticking to keto. And instead, it's also sticking to like the accountability to come forward, like, because they know your community knows your potential, they know what you have to offer, they don't let you stay home, right? They are going to challenge you in a positive way to be like, bring it all. We need your story. I can't let you tap out. Like, I need you to show up for this, because I know you have a voice to share.
And ultimately, if I had let my doubt and fear and my insecurities and my worries that no one's going to love me and no one's going to accept me and all of that, if I had let that win, I wouldn't have come in there and been in there and spoke and given you some hope, and been able to connect with you and help you. And you know, even I have my camera here and I've been taking pictures, and people are like, you're not a professional photographer.
Seriously,
but these are
they're
so
amazing.
Good. Yeah, and it's just like I dabble in things. I get really good at them really fast, and I'm, you know, I'm talented, but I've always just been the kind of person, I'm like, oh, I can't brag, I can't say I'm good at stuff, but I'm kind of tired of feeling that way. You know, how much beauty could I bring in people's lives by just following my passions and doing what I want to do instead of being afraid of what people will think?
Well, I really appreciate you adding beauty to my life, and I believe that there's so many more people that you can bring hope to.
Thank you.
So how can people find you?
My big project right now is called Dissolving into Gratitude, and it's a gratitude practice that I'm doing. It's on Instagram, so if you follow me on at Dissolving into Gratitude. It's all one word. And there's a link tree. You can find my music. I'm probably going to set up something with my photography on that link tree, but there's a link tree link on my Instagram, and that's pretty much my main website. So you can connect with me there. I do keto coaching and stuff like that, but I'm not currently accepting anyone because I'm so busy with all my projects. But I have coached a few people, and really I do mindset. I do a lot more mindset than nutritional.
Which is very, very powerful. And if they go into Clubhouse, how will they find you there?
My username is @BadgerSnake, but you can just look me up as Jess Britt, or if you're in Keto for the Soul or Keto Saved My Life long enough, you'll hear my voice really soon because I'm in there all the time.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your day with me. If you like videos like this, please take a look at our video that I'm going to put right over here. Or take a look at our newest video, which we'll put over here. But whether you head this way or you head this way, don't forget to head this way. Subscribe to our channel and click the little bell icon, and that way every single time we meet somebody amazing, you'll be alerted to it. Until next time, bye.
Bye.